And here we are again with another podcast of traveling actors with your host, Deaton Gabbard and
Brandon Wall. Welcome in.
Welcome again. And now we're in studio.
Yeah,
so that's a change.
Yeah,
right?
It looks a little different.
Yeah.
One of two ways. One, the last time it was just audio, so now we actually have video footage. And two, we're not in a car this time.
Yeah, now we're not like facing near death. Because I remember I was like listening to the old podcast, and there's literally a part where I'm like, if this car doesn't hit us, and you can hear it running by us.
Well, because we had to, we loved up too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working, so you had to put
it like in the middle of the
Yeah,
console. Yeah. So we're getting a little bit more professional with this.
Yeah. So kind of I want you to explain to us what we have in store for them this season.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically what happened was me and Brandon, after talking about it, and honestly with the strike, I mean, I'm sure that everyone was starving for some sort of content, creativity, creative outlet. And we started listening to the podcast again. We're like, this actually was a good thing. Like, I feel like we got very vulnerable on it. We were very open.
And it was also, too, when we first started to actually, like, book real things. And I say real things, like bigger things, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And we were traveling more. So it was a time where we were trying to transition into local indie stuff into like actual bigger production. So
yeah, like since then I booked my first SAG speaking role, and you booked a network TV role that we're going to talk about in another episode.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, things are progressing even with the strike.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how the strike affected you, Brandon, specifically.
Me, it was actually a good thing. And I say that because I've been acting for 12 years off and on, but for the longest time
he's
now.
Old. That's what he's trying to say.
For the longest time now, I feel like it's just been one thing after another with acting. Yeah. And with the strike, it gave me a little bit of a break to step back and just be like, okay, like I want to do what I need to do with my life right now and then jump back into acting when it starts back up. So it kind of gave me like a breather, I guess I should say, and like, focus on work and doing all my family and doing all that stuff. And then when it kicked back up, that's when I ended up booking that role as soon as it started back up. So it really did give me some time to like focus on myself and figure out who I am as a person, as an actor, and all that other good stuff. So that helped me out a lot. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, and just going on what you were saying, I mean, it's important to take that break sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was talking to someone on Facebook a couple days ago, actually, where they were saying they were like, how do you handle a 9 to 5, 50-hour work week and do film and stuff? And I basically was like, you can't. No. I mean, if you're in survival mode, then you can't be creative.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the truth. I mean,
and
it's
a cool too, though, because it is, if you look at it working a 9 to 5, and we're both bartenders, so we both have like odd schedules, odd hours.
Yeah.
But like looking at working a 9 to 5 and then being like, oh man, I got to hurry home, do this audition. And then tomorrow this audition's due. Like, it really is a grind, but there is a feeling in that is, it's a feeling that you can't describe. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you're always doing something, like, whether you're working or trying to get this gig, but you're working for a purpose. Yeah. So it's a good feeling to just be able to be like, yes, I just worked 8 hours, but now I have to do an audition, because it gives you another dynamic in that audition as well. You're like, I'm exhausted. Yeah. I don't want to do this right now, but I have to,
That's true.
So
I think it's just like, I mean, if you're always on that grind, like, you just feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like, at least I'm doing something. And that's kind of like the thing with me, which I want to talk to you about your perception of like making it. Because I'm sure like anytime, like, I mean, we've started telling people at the bars that we work at, like, that we are actors. I mean, at some point you can't really hide it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started working there like 2 years ago, I tried not to say anything about it. Because I mean, that's not my entire personality, honestly. Yeah. Like, and when I'm at work, I'm at work. Like, that's a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
But I actually had the Buckle Up Kentucky commercial that was a local one around here that played like everywhere, to the point that people were like, are you an actor or were you in a wreck?
Yeah.
Because I had like, the stuff on my face and stuff.
That's funny. It really is fun. It's and I did the same thing too. Like, it's cool to tell people about acting, but then you get the same questions too. Like, what have I seen you in? What have you been in? What, have I seen something? Or what's your next thing? It's the same questions over. It's very redundant. So I'm just like, I try to stay away from telling people that. But like you said, now it's kind of hard, because we're doing bigger things now, whether it's commercials or TV, film, whatever. So it's kind of hard to hide that now.
Yeah, and
which is cool. It's a cool thing.
That like in between phase of like, we're starting to book kind of bigger stuff, but like for a while there was also just kind of waiting for stuff to come out.
Yeah.
Because like I still have like 7 features that are coming out this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's literally just kind of the waiting game at this point.
And then for us too, it's kind of hard because you do have to wait for that stuff, like, to come out. And, you know, when we were first starting out, we weren't getting a lot of stuff. So when we did get stuff, we were like, okay, now we have to wait for it to come out.
Yep.
Now we have to wait, and I want to put this on my reel. And so now we have a good portfolio and resume that we've built, and now we're able to get that together, and it looks great, and we send it off now. And we are in a point of our life now where we can pick and choose what we want to do or what, you know, we don't want to do, or if this isn't paid, like, oh, I'm not going to do this now. Whereas before we used to do that stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's so true. Now we're being super picky with what we are approached with. And it's not even like, I mean, I think at some level you kind of get this, am I being an asshole about it? You know, like, am I being too pretentious? But I mean, you have to protect your career. You have to protect your brand.
Yeah, and it's not, and it never comes down to that either. I feel like, because I'm not one to say, oh, I'm, you know, that's beneath me, because I would never say that. It's just, I look at stuff like, is this going to, my acting teacher used to tell me all the time, this resonated within me. You never want to make lateral moves, obviously, or just horizontal moves. You always want to, always want to do something that's going to further your career. So if I'm doing stuff that's not really helping me, then I'm just kind of doing it for no reason. So that's why I'm very selective about what I do, whether I look up the DP or if I look at the quality work, producers, whatever. Like, I'm very like, this is what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. You know?
Those are my first questions as well. Yeah. Who's the DP? Yeah. Who's doing sound? That's one of my, like, you kind of had to learn as you go, but like, sound is super important. And that's, again, you can see the difference between, if you go back to our old episodes, the difference between a little lav mic in between us and an actual professional studio set. And you can see the difference there. Yeah. So just to kind of go on what you were saying, like, again, we get the same exact questions. It's also kind of a reason we did this podcast, I feel like, because now when people are like, I really like talking to you about this, I want to like learn more, I'm like, we have a podcast. Yeah. You like listening to me talk.
You got 2 seasons of it.
We got more coming out. But like, what exactly is your perception of like making it, I guess?
It's a weird,
like, when do you
concept.
Feel like,
I don't think I don't think I'll ever feel it, honestly. No, I don't think I will ever be to the point where I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm here. I will say that when I did book that thing, we'll talk about here a little later.
You can say it.
When I booked it, no, I want to wait. We'll build up the suspense for that. But when I booked it, I said, you know, I was like, here I am now. Like, this is it. But I meant this is it. Like, this is my first big thing. Not like this is it. I made it, you know? Yeah. So I don't think there will ever be a point. To me, making it is just working regular. Yeah. Like, not having to work that 9-to-5 job you were talking about. Being able to just not work at all and do what I love to do, acting, and making a career out of it. That's when I say that I made it. Yeah. So.
Like, I've told people, like, I've lost that, you know, fantasy of, oh, you're going to become an overnight success or whatever. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't have those delusions when you first start out? Yeah. But, like, I really do believe, and I quote this all the time on social media, is that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Right. And, like, I'm on year 7. You said you've done it for 12 years. Yeah. I'm on year 7 with a pandemic and a strike. Yeah. Doing pretty good, I feel like. Yeah, you know? Yeah. But I agree with you. Like, definitely, like, my next step is I want to book, like, a co-star, like a network co-star. Yeah. And then I feel like that will open doors. Like, I've gotten so close. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, too, in a future episode, is just, like, everyone talks about the wins. Everyone talks about the no's, but no one talks about the almost, like, I just got pinned, and we'll explain what that is later, and then you get released. Like, those can hurt even worse than just flat out rejection, honestly, because you got so close. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a lot in store for this podcast, for this season of Podcast Traveling Actors.
I'm excited.
I'm super excited
to knock this out, and then we will have some guests on here as well. Now, that's one thing we didn't have in the last season is guests, so we'll have about at least 4 or 5 people come on this season, and if not more. So yeah. So it'll be fun, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to be in here, and I'm ready to get this stuff kicking.
Me too, man. So stay tuned for more podcasts of Traveling Actors.
Thank you.